Hello, class. We're about to start lesson 5, absolute value. Okay, now basically, absolute value goes like this. Instead of going through all of the things that they're put in the definitions here, it's just the distance from zero. Again, absolute value is just the distance from zero. Your answer from the absolute value will always be positive or zero. Again, your answer from absolute value will always be positive or zero. Okay, so now if we look down at example 1, it asks us, it says, what is, which of the following is equal to the absolute value of negative 13? Now, if you notice here, we had an absolute value of negative 13. Remember, I told you your answer from absolute value is always a positive or zero. So your answer would be the number 1. Absolute value of negative 13 is 13. Now, if you notice here, we have these absolute value bars, just like we had in the previous chapter, the previous section of work, where I told you all for the order of operations that the absolute value is the same thing as parentheses. Okay, now we scroll down. Example 2. Which of the following is equal to negative 20 times the absolute value of 17 minus 34? So you treat this like a parenthesis in order of operations. You do that first, which is shown in here. So you do the 17 minus 34 first. That gave you negative 17. Then the absolute value of negative 17 is positive 17. And you carry over your negative 20 because it's not under the absolute value. So now you have negative 20 times 17, which is a negative 340. Now, when I said that your absolute value is either equal to 0 or a positive number, I was not referring to your final answer. I was just letting you know that when it comes out of the absolute value to be positive or 0. Now we scroll down. We come here to the examples. I believe there's 28 problems for the example. So we're going to go through these. The first 12, I do believe we would get through fairly quickly because they are just absolute values. So let's look at problem number 1. Problem number 1, we have, let's see, the absolute value 18. Absolute value of 18 is just 18. Problem number 2, we had an absolute value of a negative 107. Absolute value is just 107 because a negative 107 is 107 paces away from 0. Okay, number 3, absolute value of 423, which will give us 423. Number 4, we have the absolute value of 95. Absolute value of 95 is 95. Number 5, we have the absolute value of negative 7,026, which is 7,026. Number 6, absolute value of negative 18, which is, absolute value of negative 18 is 18. Number 7, we had an absolute value of negative 5,708,432. And that would give us a positive 5,708,432. Now we go to problem number 8. Had an absolute value of a negative 85.6, which would give us a positive 85.6. Okay, number 9. We have the absolute value of 42, which is just 42. Okay, number 10. The absolute value of it looks like 10.5, which would just be 10.5. Number 11, you have the absolute value of a negative 163.24, which will give us a positive 163.24. Number 12, you have the absolute value of negative 3.14, which is 3.14. Okay, now 13 through 24 requires a little bit more work, but it's still just as easy as problems 1 through 12. So, let's get to it. 13, we have 5 plus the absolute value of negative 6. So the absolute value of negative 6 is just 6. So it's 5 plus 6, which is 11. Problem 14. We have negative 3 times the absolute value of 52. So this would be negative 3, absolute value of 52 is 52. And we know a negative 3 times 52 will give us a negative 156. Okay, problem 15 is 3 times the absolute value of negative 52. The absolute value of negative 52 is positive 52. So 3 times positive 52 is 156. Now 16, we have 12 divided by negative 4. So this would be 12 divided by the absolute value of negative 4 is just 4. 12 divided by 4 is just 3. Okay, now that took care of problem up to 16. Now we go to problem 17. 17, we have the opposite of the absolute value of 110 minus 201. 110 minus 201 would give us the absolute value of a negative 91. Absolute value of negative 91 is just 91, and we'll bring down our negative sign. So it's just negative 91 for problem 17. Okay, now we come here with problem 18. Problem 18 is negative 14 plus the absolute value of 28, well, negative 28 divided by 2. So we had negative 14 plus, we do what's in the absolute value first. Negative 28 divided by 2 is a negative 14. So we had negative 14 plus, the absolute value of negative 14 is 14. Negative 14 plus negative 14 is 0. Okay, now problem 19. We have 706.2 minus absolute value of negative 86.4 plus 0.2. So you have 706.2 minus the absolute value of negative 86.4 plus 0.2 is a negative 86.2. So now we have 706.2 minus the absolute value of negative 86.2 is a positive 86.2. Now, when we subtract this 706.2 minus 86.2 will give us 620. Will give us 620.0 or just 620. Okay, so now that took care of problem number 19. Now problem number 20. Problem 20, we have 49 divided by, parenthesis, negative, absolute value of negative 7. So now we have 49 divided by, in this parenthesis, we got the opposite of the absolute value of negative 7 is just 7. So now we have 49 divided by, the opposite of 7 is negative 7. So 49 divided by negative 7 is just negative 7. Okay, problem 21. Problem 21, we have negative 5, absolute value of negative 4. So we have negative 5, the absolute value of negative 4 is positive 4. So negative 5 times 4 is negative 20. All right, 22, we have negative 6 in the absolute value bars minus negative 7 in the absolute value bars. Absolute value of negative 6 is 6. Minus absolute value of negative 7 is 7. 6 minus 7 is negative 1. Okay, now we go to problem 23. Okay, problem 23, we have the absolute value of 17 divided by the absolute value of negative 8. Now the absolute value of 17 is 17 divided by the absolute value of negative 8 is 8. Now, for this problem, you would need to put this in your calculator. I showed you all how to put this in your calculator. So let me see if I can pull this up real quick, because I think the calculator has went off of the screen here. Yes, it did. So now what I would have to do, I need to pull this calculator back up. See if I can pull it up real quick. All right, so we would hit N over D, 17 in the numerator, down arrow, hit 8 in the denominator, and press enter. Now we can hit this key here, and it's 2.125. So that is our answer, 2.125. All right, that took care of problem 23. Now we go on to problem 24. 24, we have absolute value of a negative 5.5 times a negative 2. So the absolute value of negative 5.5 is 5.5 times a negative 2. Now 5.5 times a negative 2 will give us negative 11. Now you can put that in your calculator, but it will give you negative 11. All right, so that took care of problems 13 to 24. Now we need to do 25 through 28. So now, problem 25. Okay, problem 25. First of all, it says choose the one best answer to each question. So 25 states, the temperature in Northville at 9 p.m. was a negative 5 degrees Fahrenheit. By 5 a.m. the following morning. Okay, so it says by 5 a.m. the following morning, the temperature was a negative 15 degrees Fahrenheit. By how many degrees did the temperature change? So we're doing a little bit of a change, which is a subtraction problem. So what we would do is we'd take negative 5 minus a negative 15. And we'll put all this under the absolute value bars. So we will have negative 5 plus 15. Negative 5 plus 15 is actually positive 10. And the absolute value of 10 is just 10. So it's 10 degrees, which is D. All right, now we go to problem 26. Problem 26, it says Bob has errands to run. He walks 5 blocks east from his apartment to the barber shop, then walks 6 blocks west to the grocery store, then walks another 2 blocks west to the post office, and finally walks back home. Assuming that Bob's apartment, the barber barber shop, the grocery store, and the post office are all located on the same street. How many blocks did Bob walk in completing his errands? Okay, so this is what we would do. For number 26, I'm going to need more space. Let me go down here. For problem 26, first of all, Bob walked 5 blocks. So it's the distance, 5 blocks. Then he walked 6 blocks. Now remember, this was 5 blocks east, 6 blocks west. So it'd be like he's backtracking. So that's why we had the -6. Then he went an additional 2 blocks still west. So it's still backtracking. And then he went home, which is another 3 blocks. So now we take the absolute value of all these values. You have 5 plus 6 plus 2 plus 3. Now when we add all of these, this will give us 16. So our answer is D. So that's how many blocks he actually walked. Okay, 27. Melania has a score of a -65 points, and Chris has a score of 55 points. By how many points does Melania losing to Chris? So we would take the absolute value of -65 plus the absolute value of Chris's 55. Now when we add these together, it'd be 65 plus 55. So Melania is losing by 120 points, which would be C. Now 28. Absolute error is the absolute value of the difference between the actual value and its measurement. A deli scale gives a measurement of 25 ounces for a cut of meat that actually weighs only 23.5 ounces. What is the absolute error in ounces of the deli? So we would take the absolute value of the actual, which is 23.5, minus, it says, the actual value and its measurement, minus the measurement. So 23.5 minus 25 will give you the absolute value of -1.5. And the absolute value of -1.5 is 1.5, which is A. And that concludes this lesson. And I will upload this to YouTube. Have a wonderful day.